Van Deeb, a dynamic leader with decades of experience building companies and crushing sales. He's been there and done that.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Van Deeb.
Inspiring audiences across the country to do it too. Here's Van.
Welcome to the Van Deeb podcast. This is a business show that hopefully those of you watching, it'll help your careers, not only in your business, but maybe in your personal life. The first thing I'd like you to do is please subscribe to this podcast so you get it in your inbox and you don't have to look for it. Please subscribe to this podcast and you will get a lot of valuable podcasts coming your way. I want to thank Hurrdat Media. They're some of the best people on the planet and best producer out there. Dylan, my man, is behind all the equipment. And grateful to have everybody as the audience today. We are doing a live show. Normally we do it in the studio with my guest, and then Dylan is behind the glass wall. But this is kind of fun that we're doing a live podcast today. So we'll do a little question and answer after about 30 minutes of talking to Kristi Andersen. Somebody I've admired for years. I want to give you a little background. I did memorize everything, but I don't want to impress you too much. So I'm going to just tell you what I know. Kristi is a top producer in Omaha commercial real estate market. Also, she's a communication consultant, a community volunteer, which she does a lot for our community. And a lot of you know, because I know we have listeners and watchers from all over the world. I mean, literally all over the world watch this show, but we're right here in Omaha, Nebraska, and that's where Kristi spends most of time doing her business. As a vice president of CBRE, Kristi focuses on leasing and selling office, industrial, and retail properties for landlords and tenants. She has represented a wide variety of clients, from small business owners to Fortune 500 companies. And one of CBRE's, which is one of the most notable commercial real estate firms in the world, not just United States, she's helped clients close over $100 million worth of real estate. $100 million worth of real estate. So congratulations on that, Kristi.
It's probably about 2 now, but you keep going.
Okay, so we're up to 200 million right now. And I'm going to stop there because I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. But thank you for being on the Van Deeb podcast.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I only had to pay you, a couple $100,000 to be here today?
Just a handshake and a smile.
That's true friendship. Sure, I'd love to be on your podcast. How much are you going to pay me? No, I'm kidding.
No.
That's a joke. So I want to tell you, before we get started, my first time meeting Kristi. So Kristi was a Channel 7 news anchor and news reporter. And I don't know time. I know it was a while back.
It was a good while back. About 15 years ago or so.
15, yeah, yep. Matter of fact, it was even longer than that because I sold the company about 16 years ago.
Okay.
So it was probably even longer. So I'm watching her station, ABC, Channel 7 locally, and they did a story of a photographer that took the pictures of all these young kids for Keystone Little League. He took $7,500 from all these parents. And you know, when your kids get their baseball pictures, it's a big deal. It's your memories for life. And I saw this piece they did on Channel 7 that they gave the photographer $7,500 and he left town. So they didn't get these kids didn't get their pictures. Parents were out the money. And, you know, it's a lot of money. So I don't know if they were going to find another photographer, but I saw it. And I didn't know Kristi. So the next morning I was like, how can I help? And I emailed her. And before I know it, we had set up, I don't know if you set that up, to have the president of Keystone Little League and one of the parents that were head of the Parents Association there. And I think they thought that I was going to meet with them and just kind of give them a couple of bucks to help them out. But and Kristi met there, and it sure didn't bother me that she had cameras. I was like, yes, I want to help these people out only if I can be on TV. No, I'm kidding, kind of. So anyway, we met on the baseball diamond, and or we met out in the baseball field, and Deeb Realty at the time, it's called Nebraska Realty now, company I started out of my basement in 1993. We donated $7,500. We gave them their full amount that the photographer had run with, and they had put it in paper, and you did a nice story on it. So that's how we met, and so I'm grateful that that's how we met, and we become close friends with her and her husband Ryan in all these years, and I've just admired her. I preach when I do my motivational speaking about 5 Ds, and Dylan's heard me say it 1,000,000 times, and so is Katie and all the people from Prime Realty, which I will say Maggie and Jackie and Jeff are here from Prime Home Realty, the best residential real estate firm on the planet. But the 5 Ds I talk about: drive, desire, discipline, determination, and decision. She's lived those 5 Ds in her life, and that's why I admire her business acumen, and I'm just thrilled that I get a chance to have a front row seat at what you're doing in our community. But so you left broadcasting, and did you go straight to work for Senator Johans?
I did. So way back, let's call it 25 years ago. So now you're going to know how old I am. I went to college in Lincoln. I'm from South Dakota originally. Went to college in Lincoln to journalism school. Thought that was all I was ever going to do, right? Broadcasting. I was on the path. Worked at a number of stations, TV stations, sort of all over the country, was at a bigger market, and then my husband and I had our son there in Michigan and decided to come back to Omaha to raise our family. And so I took a big old pay cut, stopped moving up in that world, came back to Channel 7, was there for another few years, but at that time when I came back to Omaha, I was in a top 30 market, I was doing the thing, and then you have to look at yourself and you go, okay, well, I'm not doing that anymore, so what else would I be good at? What else do I want to do? And so that was sort of my first sort of come to Jesus moment in my career, and I've had a few of them along the way. That was the first one. And we don't regret it. We've loved raising our kids here in Omaha.
And you got great kids.
Awesome. Yep, 2 teenagers.
Gavin and Finley.
Yep, 17-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old son. So we came back, and I lasted at 7 another few years, and did some consumer investigations there, and did some anchoring, and then decided, okay, what do I want to do next? And a lot of times, news people they'll spin out of news and they'll get into communications of some sort, PR. It's a natural transition. You understand the media, you just end up being on the other side of it. So my first job outside of news was for United States Senator Mike Johans when he was in the United States Senate. I had covered Mike. He was a 2-term governor here in the state of Nebraska, and then he was Ag Secretary under President Bush. Awesome guy, really awesome human being. So I was his Nebraska press secretary, so I helped him handle media across the state of Nebraska. But as you know, the action happens in D.C., and I was just a touch bored being back here in Nebraska. And politics was not, it was starting to at that time. That was back in 2008-ish. It was starting to get a little bit gnarly at that time. Nothing like what it is now.
It's gnarly now.
It's very gnarly. But that was changing. The negativity was coming. It wasn't as moderate as we were used to that landscape being here in the state of Nebraska. And so I knew at that time, I thought, I don't know if this is the right place for me. And then Senator Johans, he did not run again. And then I hopped over to Mecca. Roger Dixon hired me then as the director of communications for Mecca.
Mecca stands for?
The Metropolitan Entertainment and Convention Authority. So they're
a huge entity in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yes.
I mean, bringing in the Olympics, bringing in NCAA basketball. You handled all of that. I remember seeing you on TV, when they interview anything coming to Omaha, they interviewed you.
So I was the spokesperson. Certainly we had a huge team. I mean, you can't put on events of that caliber without a huge team. We had a great team. Roger Dixon had a lot of experience, and he was great for Omaha. He just retired after 25 years of doing that. But that was wonderful too. So, I went from news to politics to local politics with that organization.
Yep.
But also working a lot of events and loved every single minute of it. The people that you get to meet in all of those fields has been incredible. It's been a wonderful education. I've interviewed presidents, I've covered hurricanes, I've interviewed celebrities. Those are all great, great things. So I was there for probably 5 or 6 years doing that. But during that time, our children were getting older. And while I was working events, I was missing some of their things, and they were getting involved in sports. And so our son, at that time, he was a little league baseball player, played, flag football and then tackle football. And
now he's playing for Wayne State.
So now he's in college football. So our kids were always really active in sports, and that's as a mom and as a dad too. But you get that pull where you want to be at all of their things, of course. But then you also love to work, and I loved all the things that I was doing. So I had that second come to Jesus moment and said, I can't really do both of these things. What else would I do? And then that's when I kind of quietly, never told anybody, I was going to get my real estate license, and did that, and then hopped into commercial real estate.
And then you do a lot of communications where you have your own consulting communications company.
I do. And so those first couple of years of real estate, if you know anything about, well, you do, Van, at real estate, you don't make a lick of money those first couple of years, You are, so I was going from a pretty well-paying job to 100% commission at age 41.
With no benefits.
With no bennies, a mortgage and 2 kids, and a husband who probably thought, what in the world? Has she lost her damn mind?
Doing?
So, and a lot of people, I think, probably thought, why is she doing this? But you've known me long enough to know that I don't like anybody telling me that I can't do something.
Oh, yeah.
So I doubled down and said, all right, I'll bet on myself for a few years, and if I fall flat on my face, whatever, I'll go back and I'll work communications. I certainly have 20 years of experience in that. Somebody will hire me. But almost 10 years later, 9 years later, it's going well.
And you've been in real estate for how long?
About 9 years.
9 years, geez. Because I remember us having lunches talking about you getting in real estate. And, here's the thing. I'm glad she shared it the way she did with her past, because 9 years ago she made a decision. It's part of the 5 Ds of success. She said, I'm going to be successful in the real estate world. She's been successful in her past careers. And, after 9 years, Kristi Andersen is a force in the commercial real estate world. I'll brag about you. I know you won't brag about you, but you're one of the top producers in a very large space. Omaha, Nebraska, we've got a lot of people in this. We got over 1 million people in a 5-county area. But you made a decision. I want to be one of the best of the best. And we all have that ability. At whatever we do in life, the only person that's stopping you from making that decision, I want to be the best of the best of the best at what I do, the only one that's stopping you is you. And that's why I love to have conversations with you and Ryan, because when you surround yourself around people that make those decisions, guess what happens? It rubs off on you. You've heard the saying over and over from not just Zig Ziglar, but Jim Rohn and all these masterful motivational speakers and authors. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And they say, if you want to look at if you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. So the people that you surround yourself with, you have to make a decision. where do I want to go in life? And, this is a business show that it's not called How to Be Average. I don't want to talk to people that say, I want to be average. I want to be around people that want more. That doesn't mean you discount the people that don't. I've got several friends in my world that are very happy where they're at in life, and I love them to death, but they're good, positive humans. I'm talking about avoiding and eliminating those people that life sucks, I hate my job, it's too cold out to go to work. These are the people that you don't realize, but you'll take some of their characteristics and you'll become that person and you won't even know it. So part of being successful, Kristi, and I know that you believe this too, is surrounding yourself around people that have good, positive mindset.
You do. And we tell our kids that all the time, right?
Yeah.
Make sure your friends are good, make sure you're hanging around with the right people. But it still applies when you're 50 years old. It still applies at this stage in life. Because you should never want to stop improving and you should never want to stop learning. And if you do, just don't think that's a very fun place to be.
No. And when you're on straight commission, and I don't know how many people in the audience, I'm sure there's a lot of people watching that are 1099s and on straight commission. You've got to be your own motivator. I mean, when I got in real estate 44 years ago, I had no mentors. Nobody in my family's real estate, they're all teachers and preachers. So basically what I just told you is we had no money. But I watched people. I wanted to surround myself around people that I wanted to emulate. But, feeding yourself. I mean, I waited tables because I was on straight commission so I could eat while I was trying to build a real estate career.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, if it was easy, everyone would do it, right?
Yeah.
And you do. On a cold day like we're having in Omaha, Nebraska right now, where it feels like it's negative 20.
Yeah.
There's a lot, I don't have anybody telling me I have to be in the office today or that I have to go make appointments or go talk to people. But there has to be something within you that drives you to do that. Even when you don't feel good, even when you don't want to, because there's certainly those days. Everyone's human. We all have those days. But there's just something in you, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to do this type of work, you've got to be a self-starter.
Yeah, and here's the thing, is we all are going to have challenges. You've had challenges in the real estate business, starting out, questioning yourself. I have questioned myself. I've had a ton of challenges. But the thing is, the good Lord gives us the opportunity to say, I've had a bad day, I've had a bad week, I've had a bad year. Tomorrow, I'm done. No more bad days, no more bad weeks, no more bad years. I'm making a decision that I'm not going to have that in my life anymore. I'm going to set out to accomplish what I deserve. And the cool thing is, when you have that attitude, it affects everybody in your camp, your kids, your significant other, the people you work with. People want to jump on that positive train. But a lot of people think, I got to be great to do this. No, you don't have to be great to get started. You just have to get started to be great. And Katie and Jackie and Maggie and Jeff have heard me say this all the time. Knowledge is power. Learn as much as you possibly can to be the best version of yourself. But everybody benefits when you make that decision to be the best human you can possibly be. And sometimes that means making a lot of changes. Mm-hmm. Maybe you had a bad day, a bad week, a bad year because you're not doing the right things. So maybe you got to stop and take a look at your personal life. Your personal life plays a huge role in your business career. But one of the reasons why I asked Kristi to be on the Van Deeb podcast is because you made these decisions to go from comfort of, employee, getting a check every 2 weeks, all the benefits, and you said, no, I want to use my God-given skill set, and I want to go out and set the world on fire. And you've pretty much done that. I mean, I highly recommend for my audience to follow Kristi Andersen on social media and LinkedIn, because it encourages you. It gives you excitement. It gets you, your enthusiasm will grow the more people that you have in your camp like Kristi. And the thing is, you don't need a lot of those people in your life. You just need some really good people that you look up to and that may play a role in the success that you're trying to accomplish. But my message on this topic is, there's nothing that we can't do if we want it bad enough. I mean, I believe we're all created equally. If somebody in your field that you're in is doing a lot better than you are, there's a good possibility they made a decision and they created the discipline. The discipline. I'm making 5 phone calls today to people I don't know to see if they'll do business with me. I'm writing 5 handwritten notes. Now it's becoming where it's real popular to write 5 handwritten notes to people. Well, I've been preaching that since the 1980s because it just makes sense, I know you weren't born yet, were you?
Oh, yes, I was. But I would just say on that piece, too, I don't think we can underscore how much it's not easy, and don't let that intimidate you or get you down. For instance, when I decided to when I quit my good-paying job and I entered a commercial real estate firm for the first time, I realized very quickly that I didn't belong. I didn't check a lot of boxes. It's a very male-dominated field. A lot of the guys and gals that I work with, maybe their families own real estate. That's the climate, that's the landscape. So I had to take a real good look around, and I had to do some check on myself too, and say, you know what, maybe I wasn't fully aware of what I was stepping into. However, I'm not going to quit. So what do I have that the others don't have? I can't check these boxes, but I have communication skills. I have relationships, and I know a lot of people in this community based on the other positions that I've had. I'm involved on a number of boards. How can I use what I do have to begin to excel in this business? So I think sometimes we quit too quickly. And I will tell you, those first 2 or 3 years, the first 3 years that I said I'm going to give myself 3 years, and if I fall flat on my face, that's fine, I get another job. Well, almost about 2.5 into it, it took about that long. And so Van mentioned earlier, I have a communications consulting business. Well, that's how I made my money those first 2 years of real estate. I didn't make money the first 2 years of real estate. I took as many other types of jobs that I could get to pay the bills.
It's like me waiting tables until I saw the money come in.
Right.
You got to find something to feed yourself.
You do, and you just have to keep going and putting one foot in front of the other. My dad, who my father, farm guy. I grew up on a farm. My dad went to college. He had 2 brothers. He wanted to be a CPA. Went to college for that, but at that time, somebody had to come back and run the family farm. His 2 brothers didn't want to do it, so he had to. But he took that. It wasn't really what he wanted to do, but he took the opportunity, saw an opportunity, grew it, started a couple of other businesses along, while I did that, and made the best of it. But throughout my entire childhood, the motto in my home was, the harder you work, the luckier you get. The harder you work, the luckier you get. If we would complain or do there's no complaints on the farm in South Dakota. Yeah. You just better suck it up, Buttercup. You know what I mean? And
it's always warm and sunny in South Dakota, isn't it?
Really warm and sunny.
No winters.
So that's how we were raised. And I have 2 sisters, and they're both doing different things, but the work ethic is there, I think, for all 3 of us. And that is attributable to my parents and their parents before that. And so life isn't easy. You don't get things handed to you. I get reminded every day in the commercial real estate space that I'm not getting any handouts, that I got to go out and got to do it myself. I have a plaque in my office that says, make your own magic, because truly, I got to stare at that every single day because there are some days where, you know, somebody did get a layup and you just don't get one, or you're working on a really big deal. And in commercial, we work on things for a long time. And you work for free and you work for free, and then they fall apart right at the end. And it can bring you to your knees, but you just have to get up the next day and start over.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned work ethic. You know, if we master the 4-letter word, WORK, watch what happens. Because I know that people gravitate to people that are hard workers. I know I like to work. I like to give my business to somebody that's passionate about what they do. And usually people that are hard workers will find passion in what they do, or else they wouldn't be working so hard. But, you know, the message I like to give on this podcast to the audience is we all have the ability to be anything we want to be. I don't care what age you are. Even at my age, if I wanted to pivot and go in another direction after 44 years in real estate, I'm confident I can do anything I want, not because I'm special, but because I have, and of course the girls over there would say, yeah, you are special. But not because because I have the 4-letter word mastered, WORK. With that, I really believe that we can accomplish anything. And Kristi, you're a role model for that with your resume and all you've done. You're just doing this in your career. And, you know, it's tough to do. I mean, I know a lot of people today that, even my age, laid off, not going, careers didn't go the way they want, but it's okay because we have tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about living in the United States is that, you know, we have freedom and we have the ability to do anything we want to do if we just utilize our resources. But this is a conversation, Kristi, because I admire you and your business acumen and just the human you are. And I didn't mention all of the things you do to give back to the community. It's not easy being on boards, and you're on a lot of boards, a lot of charitable foundations, trying to give back to the community. She's one of the top fundraisers for the Lymphoma Leukemia Society, who I was fortunate enough to chair last year with her, only she outraised money for me probably 100 to 1. That's okay. Not really. But you also, you know, when you are in business, I like to say dance with the people that brought you. So give back to the community, like back in the beginning, years ago with Keystone Little League and all the things that we do at Prime Realty to give back to the community. Show the community their thanks by giving back and even if you can't give money, serving like you do with being on boards. But
I think it's our responsibility.
If you have the ability, you have the responsibility.
You do. And honestly, you give everything you get back 10 times. You really do. It doesn't have to be money. It can be
time.
I look, you know, as you look back at your career, or I look back at mine and sort of stand up here now at the age that I'm at and say, okay, I had all these different experiences. They were all connected, you know. The people I met here and had found relationship with were the ones that led me to this, and then the ones that led me to this. So I think if you look at it that way, to your point, I don't think, you know, there might become a time where I don't want to do this anymore, and some other opportunity will present itself. I'm just a firm believer in that. I think if you open yourself up to that, you're a good person, you provide, you output good energy, it will come back to you, and things all take care of themselves.
That's so well said. I can't add anything to that. That was perfect. So people that out there that maybe need a communications expert, they need a commercial real estate specialist, what's your email that people can get a hold of you?
You bet. Kristi at KristiAndersen.com. You could try that, or Kristi.Andersen at CBRE.com.
And just like with all my guests I have, you're welcome to email me from watching this podcast and ask me, and I'll be glad to give you her contact info as well. But Kristi, I can't thank you enough for spending some of your time here today.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And I never know with this one what he's going to say. And actually, he was well behaved, so thank you very much.
You know, It's really hard for me to behave. You can ask my peeps that I get to work with every day, but I behaved today, so yay me. So what we're going to do for the next couple minutes is Dylan, the main man. I don't know if you know this, but Dylan produced Jaws. He produced all these famous movies that you didn't know about. He's just very soft-spoken. What are some other ones? Black Panther, Wizard of Oz back in the 30s. Yeah, Dylan is just a very humble man. Anyway, next couple minutes, does anybody have any questions for Kristi or for myself?
Come on up and use the microphone.
Mr. Drew Teft, the man.
So geared towards, really both of you, but Kristi, for you on this,
Yeah.
did you have a moment in your life, or have you always felt this way, where, because you've talked about the changes, the jumps, the moves, the hoops, everything, where you got comfortable being uncomfortable? Have you always been that way, or did you have a moment where you're like, okay, I've got this is how I feel?
Great question.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
And I'll be totally transparent and authentic. I think it's hard. There are days, Drew, where the uncomfortability is enough to make you kind of say, am I really doing the right thing, and do I want to quit? And the imposter syndrome can work itself in, and so, but there's something in me, and I think it's in a lot of people, and you just have to find it, that just, I let myself have a couple days, okay? And then I just have to get back out there again. You just can't wallow in it for too long. So yes, you have to you have to become okay with being uncomfortable, but you better give yourself a deadline too. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of pull up your bootstraps and keep going.
Yeah, and I love that answer, and I want to add to that, Drew, is I don't think we grow unless we step out of our comfort zone. And I think that's where you were headed with that, because you and I have had a lot of motivational talks over the years. My brother from another mother. But, you know, I really don't think we grow unless we step out of what we're comfortable with. And it's scary. And like Kristi says, you got to give yourself a deadline, because if it's not working, it's okay. Right. I mean, I was just watching I'm a Shark Tank junkie. And one of the sharks, I did not know this, 80% of the companies that he's invested in, he loses money. This one shark, 80%, I've never known that. 80% of the companies that he invested in have gone under. So, you know, we have to take chances. Mm-hmm. We have to take shots at things. And if they don't work, they don't work. But at least you tried. At least you gave it a shot.
Well, and that's the thing. And, not everything is going to work. I mean, I would say, like in the commercial real estate space, I probably work on 50 things at a time, and 25 of them don't happen.
Yeah.
So you just have to get okay with that. And that has been the biggest challenge of working for yourself and not having a paycheck every 2 weeks and that kind of thing. It's a real mindset that you have to work through. Yes. So every year, good year last year, well, guess what? January 1 started back at 0. Yeah. And as much as, I can look back at the last several years and say, okay, well, I averaged out this, and that's the rational way to think. Those thoughts still seep in because you're human, and you say to yourself, well, crap, this is going to be the year I'm not going to make any money. Yeah. What happens if I don't make any money? And you know what? You do. Yeah. But you have to figure out a way to get yourself through that. Yeah. I also, and I think it could sort of be dysfunctional, but I'm just one of those people that is not content. It's hard for me to have peace and to be content. I'm working on that. Okay, I'm working on that.
It's work.
But I have a hard time. So if I did find myself in a place where it wasn't fulfilling me anymore, I wasn't challenged, I didn't want to do it, I would find something else to do.
Aren't you a constant learner? I mean, aren't you wanting to learn something new?
I need a challenge. I kind of need some of that. That's where I get my energy.
Yeah, I think that's an entrepreneur trait, is we want to learn something new every day. I mean, I've been doing this 44 years in residential real estate, but when I talk to a brand new agent or somebody that's newer, I'm all ears. I want to learn from them. I want to walk away from learning from them or else, And we have Maggie, one of the greatest real estate professionals on the planet. Maggie Fichtel, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I guess tying into what Van was saying for both of you in reverse is, why did you choose commercial real estate versus residential, and vice versa for you?
Great question. So I was working down at Mecca. Our board at Mecca was kind of, I feel like, the who's who of commercial real estate. So Mr. John Lund, Willie Thiessen, Dana Bradford, Jay Noddle, those are names you've heard in our community. They've done great things in our community. And so I did have the benefit when I worked at that job of being around those people. And so because at first when I thought about real estate, because I'd known Van for so long, and I thought, well, residential sounds pretty fun, and I feel like, wouldn't it be cool to show a beautiful home and that kind of thing. But I had also just worked for 20 years, nights and weekends, in news, in politics, in events. I really didn't want to do that anymore. Yeah. I didn't want to work nights and weekends anymore. And I needed to be there for my kids. And so commercial is businesslike. The emotion's not as high in commercial real estate as it is in residential. And so that's why I chose it. I also strategically chose it because I looked around and I didn't see that many women doing it. And I thought, well, right. I'm going to beat these boys, and that's what I'm going to do.
And I got in residential because I saw a lot of women doing it.
I have no doubt.
Figure that one out. No, just to answer your question, Maggie, I got in residential because there's too many big words to learn in commercial. So I was safe in residential. Dr. Hamza, Dr. Hamza is with us today.
I do have a question, and it's for both of you, and it's a word that starts with E, and it's ethics. So if you both could kind of just share briefly the importance of ethics in building trust in real estate.
Huge.
Thank you, Doc. That's a great question.
I tell people this a lot. So in commercial real estate, you can make a lot of money. There's big deals that we work on, right? Multi-million-dollar deals. And in media, as dysfunctional as the media environment can be, especially now, in federal politics and in commercial real estate, sometimes I have seen more unethical behavior in commercial real estate than I had in those other fields. Not as much in Omaha. I just really think we're full of a lot of great people, and we work well together. But there are some markets in commercial where it's very sharky, and it's because at the end of the day, it's based on greed. It's based on, there's this giant commission that I can make on this deal. And instead of doing what's right by your client, who you have the fiduciary responsibility for, if it's not what's best for them, but instead you're thinking about the dollar amount, I see a lot of people get tripped up on ethics and integrity in this space.
And the word spreads. If you're unethical, we know about it.
Yes. And I would rather, just like I did in the news business, there were plenty of times as a reporter I was told to go out and cover something that I didn't feel comfortable covering. I didn't want to go talk to that mother who had just lost their child. I didn't want to, So I found ways to do my job in an ethical manner, in a compassionate manner, that I could still look at myself in the mirror when I got home at night and didn't feel terrible about myself. So I did that then. I continue to do that now. So if there's a big deal and it's not good for my client, it's good for Kristi, but it's not good for my client. I don't do it. I don't push. And I just have to have the belief that if it falls through, something else better will come around. So that's how I handle that.
Yeah, and I think that's a great answer as far as a residential doc. To answer your question is, it's honesty. You just got to be honest. And I'll give you an example. During COVID, residential prices were through the roof. And I'd have clients, because I'm still on the streets. Thank God I can't wait to go to work every day. But I had a client that I'll never forget. During COVID, we're walking through a house. And he goes, "This is the one I want. Is it priced right?" And I go, "No." And he goes, I said, "It's way overpriced." And he goes, "Well, what should we offer?" I said, "If you don't offer at least 10 grand more, you're not going to get it. Because there's going to be 15 offers today." And so, to me, telling your clients what they don't want to hear is part of being ethical. But Omaha, Nebraska, in our community, I really believe, and I've spoken all over the country, I think we got the greatest humans on the planet. And what makes them great is I think we do have a very ethical community. I think people do the right thing more than they don't. And I want to live with those people. I want to be in business with those people. So when you're doing something unethical in residential real estate, you better be prepared for a short-lived career, because you're not going to be in business that long. Somebody will find out. I know that there's some real estate agents that I just pray that my clients don't like their houses, because I don't want to do business with them. And I'm not saying anything. I'm not going to, say my personal beliefs, but I just hope that they, that they don't like that house. But ethics is everything. Dr. Hampson, thanks for asking that question.
Okay, first, shout out Jackie. She sold our house within 24 hours.
Jackie
of the
Larrabee.
First open house.
Jackie Larrabee, Lincoln, Nebraska, ladies and gentlemen.
$20,000 over what the other real estate agents thought we'd be able to get for it. So
Nice job.
Thank you, Chris.
very
Gorman.
thankful.
Yeah.
A lot of young salespeople are having struggles right now creating networks. Like, this room might be the most connected room in Omaha at the moment.
Yeah.
But younger folks, they don't have that, and they're having trouble building it, and they're having trouble building these relationships. So, hey, when I am trying to sell my house, I can just text Van, and he can help me out. Like, how are you finding with, like, young people? Like I'm looking at Maggie, like, just as a young person coming up in this industry, like, people aren't going out as much, they aren't drinking as much, they aren't having these kind of social events. Like, how are you coaching or seeing what's working for young salespeople?
Christy, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, you have to get involved. As Van mentioned, I serve on a number of boards. I do it because I like to do it, but at the same time, it allows you to meet people. And so you have to find different places and get yourself out there and network. And I also think I've had several, I didn't benefit. It's unfortunate. I didn't benefit from a female mentor when I was young and I was coming up. I had men mentors, but I didn't have that many female mentors. And that's important to me at my age, and especially because I have a 17-year-old daughter now, to try to do that for others. And so I am trying to, I do mentor a couple of other women in the commercial real estate space. They're actually technically my competitors, but I don't care. I think I want to be able to help them, because I think if we help each other, there's enough business for everybody to go around. But I wouldn't be afraid, because both of these women did this for me. They reached out to me on LinkedIn. They didn't know me. They messaged me and they said, hey, we don't know each other, but I watch, what you do. Would you be willing to have a cup of coffee with me? And I said yes. And I think 90% of people would say yes if you messaged them, because people do truly want to help others. But I think so many times we're afraid to do that. It's uncomfortable to do that. They don't know who I am. She'll probably think I'm crazy. She's not going to meet with me. She looks like she's way too busy. That's all that negative thought that you just have to really push past and just do it. And at the end of the day, if you message somebody and they don't get back to you and they do all the things that you were worried about, well, that's probably not who you want to mentor you anyway, right? So I would say you got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, I love that. And I would just keep it brief by telling you that exposure. I would advise young people to do as much as they can to get out there. I love like Maggie and Jackie and Jeff and Katie at Prime. They put out social media videos, and they're fun to watch. I think that's considered exposure. I think that young people need to get out of their comfort zone, and if you are going to go to events and networking groups and stuff like that, make sure that they're like-minded people. And don't be afraid to hop around to some other networking groups and see what serves you. But with social media, there's really no excuses not throwing yourself out there, because everybody, a lot of people watch it. Heck, even at my age, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. So
it makes
exposure.
It makes
a
really
big
does.
difference.
And young people know it way better than we do. Social media, in college, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
We barely had cell phones.
Yeah.
So, it's changed a lot. So, I would say that is a huge tool.
Yeah.
And I need to do a better job of it. So I
think you're doing just fine. Anybody else? If not, we're going to close up the Van Deeb podcast. I am super, super grateful that all of you joined us. I don't take for granted that people that take their time out of their day to watch the Van Deeb podcast. My goal is that you get some nugget, something that you can take with you and maybe help change your course and help you become more successful. Please, please, please subscribe so you get these in your inbox automatically, because I've got great guests throughout the whole year, and we've got great content. And Kristi, I want to thank you again. I'm just super grateful that you took time out of your day to spend it with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
You bet. And thank you all for watching the Van Deeb podcast.